Reluctantly.
I'm a slow reader and I have terrible retention, so I thought I would invite him onto the podcast so he can tell me his stories. Fish Griwkowsky is my guest in the podcast today.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. It costs you nothing to make a phone call to see if you can get a better rate, a better term, and better service for your mortgage. Also, Concept.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Look your best.
Reluctantly.
Hi, Terry. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you accepted my invitation. I don't know if have we ever met in person? Have we ever been at the same event or?
Well, kind of. I mean, I think I know you. I think you know my dad, but I recognize you, and so now and then I'll kind of like stand near the edge of like I'll be on a set of stairs or something and wave at you or whatever, and you kind of look like you're pretending to know me or whatever. But I've introduced myself a couple times. But yeah, I mean, I'm a tiny box in a newspaper. Yeah.
Well, how long has it been now? Like you mentioned your dad. We'll get to that in a second. But how long have you been writing for?
Yeah. Well, I started out. Probably goes back to, God, 89 or so. I was a cartoonist at the University of Alberta newspaper, The Gateway. Love The Gateway. So I was just drawing cartoons and taking the odd photo. Like the first photo shoot I ever did was Lee Aaron. And she looked at me and I was so excited. It's like the biggest thrill of my life. And then Gwar came to town in 1991 to the Starlight Room, and I didn't know what they were. And if people out there don't know what they are, they're like a monster band with like genitals, and they cut people's heads off and stuff. So I just thought I was just going to some rock show. And I went with a fellow cartoonist named Mark Meir, who ended up being like a big like international celebrity in the kind of nerd world. So he's like Commander Shepard on Mass Effect and is a dungeon master who dungeon masters all over the world in castles. Anyway, we were just like nerdy cartoonists at the time. And we went and saw the Gwar show. And it's still the best concert I've ever seen because I didn't know what was going to happen. And there was just blood flying and they're cutting people's heads off. And it was just so crazy. And so at that point, I'm like, we have to review this. Like, I want to write about this. So the three of us who saw it, the entertainment editor was there too, Gabino Travassos, and he said, yeah, write whatever you want. And so we wrote this really lewd, lecherous, swear-filled, disgusting review and got a whole bunch of letters and people complaining from the community about it. And I'm like, I think I want to do this forever. And I have been. Like, so I got hooked and I've been chasing the dragon ever since, the Dragon of Gwar. But I mean, if you go to a Gwar show, you don't know, like time and space collapse on them on themselves. Have you ever seen them?
I have not, but I have a funny story. I have a funny story about Gwar. We were doing the show. This was years ago, and we started talking. I can't remember I think it was the Terry, Bill, and Steve show back in the day.
Yeah.
And we were talking about if you've ever slept with somebody. I think it was the story came out about Gene Simmons' first groupie was in Edmonton.
Oh,
and
okay.
For some reason we were talking about that. And so we said, okay, well, have you ever slept with somebody in a band? So people started calling us and telling the stories about how they had been conquered or whatever by whatever band was plowing through Edmonton. And somebody called up and said that they slept with one of the members of Gwar.
Oh, wow. Were they sure? Because they're in costumes. Somebody might have just said that. Yeah.
That was the first thing that we asked. Did they have the big,
That's funny. That reminds me of Leonard Cohen and the whole Sisters of Mercy at the Alberta Hotel. You know that story too, I'm sure. But he wrote the Sisters of Mercy after he was walking around Edmonton downtown. I can't remember where he played, but it was really cold. And these two women said, come back to our hotel room. And it was where CKUA is now. And it's the Alberta Hotel. And apparently he had such a good time. He wrote a song about them. I love Edmonton. Like we always end up in these dumb stories, but yeah.
And the other thing too is you mentioned Lee Aaron.
Right.
I've had on the podcast. Yes,
Yeah.
the Metal Queen. So it was 1984. I was working at LA 107 in Lethbridge, and Lee Aaron was basically my first rock star. And
that's great.
I told her that, and she had this look on her face because I'm sure her husband John was just off on the edge or on the side or in the other room. I said, "No, no, no. You weren't my first rock star in that sense of the word, but
Yeah.
she was basically my first rock star that I was able to hang out with when she was playing the Alec Arms in Lethbridge."
Right. I didn't expect this podcast to be so lecherous, but I'm not going to kiss and tell.
Well,
Yeah.
this is part of the thing, and
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you. Well, I'm gonna hang off on that. But you made reference to your father, and
Yeah.
yours is a literary family, I suppose, with your dad Con, and your sister was also in.
She still is. Yeah. Catherine Griwkowsky. And she's sort of the lead reporter at AB Today, which is like an online, it's for flacks and hacks a lot. But I mean, if you care about provincial politics, it's a really nice little digest. I guess I'm doing a plug. I didn't expect to, but I mean, yeah. And I love reading it. But yeah, and she has to talk to the premier directly and sit on those phone calls where they answer one question and there's no follow up all the time. But she's the serious one of all of us because, you know, Con's a sports guy, right? He always
Yeah.
loved sports, and he tried to get me into sports and made me join a hockey team and a soccer team when I was a kid. And I would be like disappointing him all the time, like running around the side of the soccer field with an X-Wing fighter in my hat, you know, like from Star Wars. It's funny though, like at this point in my life, I'm probably in the best shape of my life. Like I ride my bike all summer and winter, go to the gym and all this. But yeah, at the time I just wasn't interested in that stuff at all.
Are you a true Star Wars freak?
Yeah, I mean, it keeps eating itself, so it's diminishing returns all the time. But the Andor TV show that just came out a couple years ago was the very best Star Wars ever, including the movies. Like, I don't know if you watched that, but
Oh,
it's damn good. Like it's like The Wire, you know. Yeah, honestly, watch it. It's excruciating. It's about
Andor.
the rise of fascism, like with the Galactic Empire, and it really is just a really well thought. Like you see all the administrators in the Empire and how terrified they are, and just regular people like being driven to rebel, and it's just really really good. None of that kind of like space fantasy stuff. Like it's just like literally bookkeepers and people just trying to live their lives who kind of get forced into this position of terror and rebellion. Yeah.
Is there any reference made to Darth Vader, Anakin, Luke, Yoda, any of that stuff? Princess Leia?
I mean, spoilers, part of it is that they're building a Death Star. So it's set back then, but mostly it's just kind of like day to day, like, you know, stormtroopers are showing up and making everybody's lives hell.
I'm gonna have to look it up now because
Yeah.
I was the kid. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
that different in age. I don't
Yeah.
suspect. So,
Mhm.
growing up with A New Hope, the first Star Wars movie to come out, and then becoming a big fan, and then the hugely disappointment of Jar Jar Binks, and
Yeah. Poor Jar Jar.
that was kind of it for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm done with Star Wars. It's too late
Yeah.
to get into Star Trek now. There's too many generations, and I could never really get over the whole William Shatner thing.
The interesting thing about Andor is that it is actually the really good prequel that's better than Star Wars. Like that's sort of what it comes down to. And it's not made for us when we were like 7 to 12 or whatever. Like it is made for us at this age a little more. So I think if you like compelling drama, Andor's your Millennium Falcon to jump into.
Okay.
Yeah. we got off topic there. I'll go. Yeah. Yeah, I had the biggest Star Wars collection in Edmonton up to a point, like back in the day, and then just rich kids came in and got it. But I still have every action figure and playset and spaceship, and a lot of it's in boxes, and it's just sitting in my mom's basement. They always make fun of nerds, and it's like you're living in your mother's basement. But I sort of shed my carapace, and it's just it's hanging out there.
You did a giant purge and documented that through your journalism too, didn't you?
Yeah, and you look behind me, you can see I really got rid of stuff. But I mean, like, yeah, it was a minimalism game, and that was a lot of fun. And that was one of the biggest hits I ever had, if we're talking about clicks and stuff like that. But there's a minimalism game where you give one thing away on the first of the month and two things away on the second of the month, all the way up to 31. So you're doing 31 things. And I had the bright idea to do them all themed and then also write an article and take a photo every day, which on day 3 was okay. But by the end, it was just like, it was maximum burnout. And I was like crying. I was like, wow, how am I doing this? But yeah. And I did it during December. So I sort of took the opportunity on December. I just like bought a bunch of groceries that I would have really liked, like really nice jam and stuff, and gave it to the food bank. So it's like the stuff was never in my house, but I wanted to do like a feel good one, but also do something good. Yeah, it was weird, but it was
So
one of the most performative things I've ever done. Like the whole thing, I mean, where you're just like showing all this junk you've collected, because my grandma was a hoarder and I kind of inherited that. And I still I love books, and I've read most of the books behind me. So I just do a lot of reading.
do you have a home, single family dwelling, or an apartment, or what do you, what's
Yeah, I'm
your
living in a
setup?
condo. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So like I'm not, I don't think I'm in the category of hoarder, but
Yeah.
I have things in my garage that I'm going to be able to use one day, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult to throw those kinds of things out.
And I mean, when there have been many moments where, like back when we were still at the office at the Journal, somebody would be like, "Oh man, I need this cord," and I'm like, "Oh, I have that cord, like this old, HDMI cord or whatever it was. Like, I think it's called like axial cables or something like that." But anyway,
Coax. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew, yeah,
Coax cable to
coax,
hook your
yeah,
TV up back in the day. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I still have the RF modulator that you plugged, and it's like on or off, and that's how you plugged your Atari and a television on. And I have one in a package still, which is insane. But that's just because I was in Cold Lake, and there was a used, like a junk store basically, and there was one in package, and I'm like, I have to buy this. Like, it's been sitting here for like 30 years. And
Is
it's
there
just
any
this.
practical use for that now at all, or is it just now
No.
but it's been so long it's just become a topic of conversation?
Yeah, and I think there's probably a way I could kind of Jimmy rig it up or something like that. Like, but I don't know how I'd even do it. And if I had here's the thing: is I don't have an old TV, but if I had an old TV, I could still make it work. But I have hooked up like a late '80s Nintendo to a modern TV. Figured out a way to do that, and so sometimes I'll play Tetris, drive myself crazy for a while, and unplug it. So anyway, welcome to my brain. I got diagnosed with ADHD the other year, like a couple years ago, and I'm like, oh, okay, everything makes sense now. Like, I'm just squirreling all over the place. So yeah,
I wonder, I mentioned off the top that I'm a slow reader and I have
yeah,
terrible retention. I wonder if is that part of what did you have that same thing?
yeah. I mean, but are you good at retaining that in which you are interested? Like, if you're reading something that you really care about, is it easier? Because that's sort of a tell right there. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't diagnose you, but I will say that because you're in the media, there's a very huge chance that you have it. People in the media, and nurses, teachers, and people in prisons are four groups where the percentage of ADHD people is super high.
Wow. See,
Yeah,
that's something I didn't know. There's
yeah,
always been, I've always felt a little off.
hmm
Um, my favorite reading material is autobiographies.
right, yeah,
Or biographies,
hmm
everything. I don't know which ones you've read or haven't read, but the Eric Clapton and Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson's a really good one.
yeah. That's a
I
good one.
just, Meatloaf, all of
Hmm
his concussions, and I mean, I love reading about real people and what they went
Yeah,
through to get to where they are. I
yeah.
find that really inspirational, but at the same time, as much as I like that, I don't recall a lot of it.
Yeah,
And
that happens to me too. Actually, I was even nervous about coming on here because I'm like, am I going to remember the dates? Am I going to remember the quotes from old, because I didn't know exactly what we were going to talk about, but I was like, yeah, I think I can fake it. But I did literally study a little bit in advance to remind myself what I'd done. It's always weird. It's like reading your own, those little like eulogy paper, or the little handouts they do at funerals.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. But I just read a really good David Lynch autobiography that he wrote a couple years before he died, and he's such a weirdo. So it's a biography and an autobiography. So he'll have his friend. She wrote like 20 pages about each era, and then he would write 20 pages responding to it. It's like, well, I don't remember that, but it's like, yeah, it's a great one. Find it.
I
Yeah.
think that's what people have asked me if I have ever thought about writing a book too,
Yeah.
because I don't know, being in radio since 1980, I wish
Yeah.
I had taken a picture of,
Hmm.
had a picture taken of me with everyone I've met of notoriety or fame or whatever the case might be, because I honestly can't remember a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. It's
That
funny.
Yeah, it's bizarre, and then you talk about you were preparing for this, I was trying to prepare for this as well, but it's awfully difficult to find information about you. Did you know that?
Ye- Well, so yeah, I mean, it's funny because literally my 5G right now isn't working on my phone, so I can only use my phone with Wi-Fi. And I like it. Like, it brings me back to the 90s, and I never have a ringer on, and I never have a buzzer on, and I don't have kids or anything. So it's just like, I've been fighting as much as I love robots and Star Wars, I've been fighting the robots telling us when to do stuff the whole time. Like, I just want to choose to look at my phone. And I feel like it makes me like 10% happier that it's like up to me if I'm gonna, so all this era of algorithms and everything coming at you every time you open, this is funny because I tried to look up the date for Guar before this, and Bing and Google, no, they just can't do it. And then finally I just looked up an article I had written recently where I know I had put the date in, and that's how I found it. But all it talked about was the show coming up, because everything's sort of been overtaken by making money,
Right,
essentially. Like, the search
yeah.
engines are broken now. My friend Garnet lives out in Toronto, and he's like, there's nobody's reporting on or telling you like what's going on this weekend anymore. Like, you just have to go to specific venues or know specific bands. And obviously that's going to be pretty hard for the musicians who are touring through, where it used to be you'd have see and view sitting around in the bars and you could just see everything or listen to the radio or read the articles in the Sun and the Journal and stuff like that. And that whole system is much collapsed, right?
It does make it very difficult to champion the local music scene, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, this is what you and I are massively, I mean, I can't speak for you, but I'm sure you feel this way. Like, we're just massively lucky to be able to kind of amplify and be in on the conspiracy to, make Edmonton more culturally interesting, and not like to compare to Toronto or anything, but just for all of us, right? Like, we all have a lot of passion for what we write about. I mean, I don't just write about music. I started off writing about music. Like, this story jumped around again. That's squirrel brain. But I went from the Gateway, and I just kind of ended up at the Sun, and then I was a country writer for a while because I was a proofreader, is what happened. And I just went up to the editor in chief, and I'm like, why does the Edmonton Sun not have a country music writer? He's like, you want to do it? And I'm like, hmm. And then I bought a big book of like just the history of country music, and I read this other book called No Country But Country. And after about a year, it was the next Christmas party, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it now. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, be the country writer. And he's like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. So that's how I started writing about music proper. And I did that for a long, long time through the Sun years and everything. And then when I hopped over to the Journal, then it was like it opened up, and I'd gotten a passion for art and public art and all that. And I started writing about that more. But sort of while that was happening, I started co-writing movies with my friend, and we ended up having movies at like pretty well every festival. And we wrote a feature together, and it was at Locarno, which is kind of an unknown festival. But yeah, and it's so it's been a really weird ride, because I've always been an artist inside the machine of promoting art, and it's kind of neat. And I end up being friends with so many of these people, and I think there is kind of whether or not it's a joke or people sneer, people have certainly been bitchy about it now and then, but I do end up, I'll write about my friends, like, because I have a lot of friends locally, and I'm writing about local music, and everybody kind of knows each other. And so people will be like, well, you never wrote about me. And I'm like, well, when is your gig? And then he'll be like, well, next Thursday. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do an interview. Like, that's all you have to do is come up and ask, right? Like, yeah. So really easy. Yeah.
I think back to as far back as the Smalls and SNFU
Oh
and
yeah.
Chai
Yeah.
and to Junior Gone Wild, and then the Mike Plumes and that sort of thing, Bobby
Yeah.
Cameron's and some of the other stuff, seeing the people who were from here go off and do great things, and seeing people who went off in great things and then finished here, sort of thing. Like, Robbie Baker was living in
Yeah.
Edmonton for a while, and like I said, it's more and more difficult. I find that you because you have through your your means to do it, you have what's happening in Edmonton this weekend, and there's still
Hmm.
a lot of information there for people who want to search it out or click it or have it saved in their taskbar or whatever the case may be. But I'm finding more and more, whether it be something artistic, like in the arts vein, or something as simple as a charity function or a restaurant opening or something like that, that I don't get the invites and the connections and the information that I used to,
Yeah.
because back in the day there was a press release or there was an email that was sent out or there was this, and now people are doing things. They're just, oh, there's a Facebook invite. Well, you know what? I get 75 Facebook invites a day,
Yeah.
and I don't like all these events. I don't have time to go look at them all, and a lot of them are just whatever.
Yeah.
And then because of that, I miss the important stuff. So I think with the technology, it's kind of gone beyond having a real physical sort of personal connection.
Yeah, well, I mean that I grieve it constantly, and I feel terrible all the time about not being able to cover stuff. And my editor and I have a conversation about that now and then, and it's just like we can't cover everything. Like when I started at the Journal, um, I called it. I was the only man, and I was inside a wheel of women, so it's like Hollywood Squares, and I was in the middle, and so there was 8 of them, and I'm part-time and I've always been part-time there, and none of them are there anymore. Right. And so all their beats, like awesome Sandra Speronis, right? The rock
Yeah,
writer, and Liz Nichols, like just incredible theater writer. And we had like 2 fashion writers at one time. Like if you go back into the history, the Journal, like I think it was in the 60s or 70s, like the Edmonton Journal had like 2 architecture writers, right? So you just have to do what you can do, and I always encourage everybody to send me whatever they can. And some of them, it's like sort of, I'm not going to say specifically stuff, but like a church thing or something like that, I'll be like, yeah, I'll throw it, because I have a listings thing on Friday, and I'm like, yeah, I'll throw that in there. But I have to pick like 5 things, and it's really, really hard. And they need to be, and sometimes I'll cheat and I'll put like, and also this is happening at the bottom of a 5 thing, but you're just trying to shoehorn things in. And
Reluctantly.
this podcast reluctantly sponsored by Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Handcrafted suits, custom tuxedos, and tailored essentials. Suits starting at $1,188. Made to measure right here in downtown Edmonton. Concept. CONXEPPT.com. If you reach out to Dave or anyone at Concept.com, please let them know that you heard about them on the Reluctantly podcast.
We start with a conversation, style, fabric, and color analysis, measured and handcrafted within 4 weeks. It ends with confidence. Concept.com.
There was a time where a newspaper had a certain amount of pages, and on Fridays
Yeah.
or Saturdays or Sundays, whichever was the day,
yeah,
that was the fat newspaper, and you probably had a few more words you could jam into a column or something like that. But with the online stuff, does that give you a little more leeway to write more about more things, or do you still have kind of you're held within a certain amount in that column?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like one of the reasons I wanted to hop over from the Sun to the Journal is they just had a larger word count, because I just go on, right? Like no matter what, like your typical article, like a news article or something, is like 300 or 400 words maybe, and sort of like an old Sun style entertainment piece. It was supposed to be 5, and I always went 6. And then I ran over to the Journal, and I was like 1,200 words, and sometimes I'd write 18, and my editor would make me come and scale it back or whatever. But for the most part now, like everything I write is about I don't know, probably about 12 to 1500 words, which is sort of like 3 articles at once. But I really like digging in and getting all the little details. Like, it's just so interesting. I wrote about this park that opened up recently by this local, he was a graffiti kid originally, kind of looking behind his back, named AJ Loudon. And now, and sort of he started something called Aerosol Academy for like inner city youth and stuff. And now, and then, you know, he started getting art shows, and he actually made, like, I can't remember the exact phrase they had. It was something like celebrating Black excellence. And the Oilers had him do a logo. So he got to do a logo for the Oilers, and he got into weaving, and he did this giant weaving of it. And then he got the Edmonton Arts Council essentially asked him to do a commission. And so there's a whole park that's designed after this pineapple character he has named Piney P. And he's just like, he's got huge sunglasses, and he's like this bitchy looking pineapple. And this whole park is just, there's pineapples all throughout it. And I'm just like, man, it's been really awesome, like watching him rise and get all this connection. Really is the best part, because I mean, now that there are all these kids like running around the park, and he doesn't have any kids of his own. We both were joking though, because he had to study playgrounds, so he's like walking around all these playgrounds like a single adult man, like checking out these playgrounds all the time. And then before the park opened, it was the same thing. I was like wandering around with my camera, and all my friends are making fun of me. It's like, no, I'm working. Yeah. So, but I asked like 2 of the kids what they thought of the park, and like the little boy's like, it was awesome, and the little girl's like, it was weird. And I'm telling this story, and people are like, you shouldn't just walk up to kids and talk to them. I'm like, I'm just working. Anyway. Yeah.
My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they had a couple of huskies, and
Right.
huskies, they're finite huskies, their lifespan, and they lost both their huskies, and then a year and a half or whatever went by, and they got another one, and it's a beautiful dog. And when they got it, it was a puppy, and I said, "Oh, what'd you name?" Because their first dogs were Wolfgang and I can't remember the end. It doesn't matter. But I said,
Yeah.
"What's the dog's name?" And he goes, "Kid."
Right.
And I said, "I hope you're not going to walk this around elementary school."
Yeah.
You know, even at an off-leash park, you can't just, "Kid," you can't just yell out. I sort of sense the same sort of reaction to you skulking around with a camera in a playground.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I tried to be cautious, but I also carry my camera around everywhere with me too. So, and have for years. Like, I wanted to be a photographer, hilariously, and ended up doing all these other things. And I still do take pictures for the paper or whatever, but that actually is the thing that I really, really love the most. Like, just, you know, Star Wars, actually, George Lucas, like the framing of that original movie, like that's what first got me thinking, like this sort of rule of thirds thing, and just how beautiful everything looked. I just went and saw Nijinsky, the Alberta ballet play, and I was a tiny bit drunk, but I was watching it, and I actually did start crying, I'll admit it, because I mean, just the form and it was just the composition of all the dancers the entire time was just perfect, and my mind was just blown, and I was sitting there and I didn't have a camera. That's not why I was crying, but it was just beautiful. Yeah.
Isn't it something how it's one thing to see a television show or a movie or something, a live performance, and I think sometimes we forget that there's a director. There's somebody who's creating what we see visually. They're creating that. So they're creating what is happening up front. They're creating depth. All of the composition of everything in behind is, I think, something that we take for granted when we're watching it in a live scenario, because you just think, oh, there's people dancing back there and there's people dancing back there, but it's all there to bring the attention to the stars or the main characters in the play or whatever the case may be, even in dance. So,
well, this reminds me of it was like another time I was just utterly blown away, but it was like I watched 9 Inch Nails when they were here about 10 years ago, and they're one of my favorite bands. Like, I almost just ride my bike and listen to one album on repeat. So it was a show where they just had a curtain in front of them the whole time, and they were projecting things on it, but then they would have the light from behind, so they'd be giant and looming. And there was just this moment, and it was a sad song, and there was just like a slow motion, like baboon, like grabbing a flamingo and just taking it down. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is just so mind blowing and so beautiful. And I was reviewing the show, and sometimes when that happens, I'll, especially in the old days, I'll leave early just to be able to get it off on time. But in that case, I loved the show so much that I felt like I didn't need any more of it. And I just like got up and left.
Wow.
Like, do you get to go to concerts much anymore? Like I've seen you around lots of shows, but like, when's the last time you got to just like sit and watch something all the way through?
Uh, that's some of the things. See, this is the other thing too. I go and see experiences like that, and I go and see and enjoy or not
Yeah.
enjoy or deal, and then as soon as I leave, it's like I'm a goldfish. A lot of times I
Right.
forget.
Yeah.
Chris Stapleton, one
hmm
that sticks out for me that
Yeah.
that I saw recently. Another one back a while back before he died, Tom Petty, when everything, the
Yeah,
sound, they
man.
were making some big deal about how the sound, all the circle speakers or whatever was supposed to be happening. And I thought the sound wasn't awesome, but it was sure great to see Tom Petty.
Yeah. Did he
Um,
have a beard in that show? Was it at the arena downtown?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe not downtown, but the old arena. It was the old
Yeah, I
rink.
think it was the
Yeah.
at Northlands, but
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw that one too. Yeah. That was a good one.
there's other things that knock me out. Bob Dylan at the Jubilee Auditorium, and the Allman Brothers at the Shaw Conference Center or Convention Center or whatever it was called back then. And there's stuff over the years that has been amazing, but I just wish I could remember it all. Hence the reason I haven't started writing a book yet, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, part of it too is that it's all like it's liminal space, like it's all in the moment. This is why I get so pissed off at even though I'll do it a little bit, but the people who watch a whole camera through their phones.
Yeah.
Like I saw that Metallica the 2 nights last summer at the stadium, and there was a couple in front of me, and they just recorded the entire show. Like they were just looking at the entire show through their phone, and I just thought that was so weird. But holy shit, or can I swear? Anyway,
Yeah.
like that show. I went the first night, reviewed it. I thought it was okay. Robert Plant was better, And then I saw the second night, and I realized it was all just like one escalating show. And by the time they were kind of playing one at the end, and just like the constant flash bombs going off and everything, and I was just like screaming my head off. I felt like 12. Yeah, so that was the good times. It's always better to not review a show.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's way better to just go hang out and write about it at the end of the year or whatever.
What were your thoughts on Mammoth, Wolfgang Van Halen?
I thought it was good. You?
I didn't go. So
Yeah.
that's
It was
one of the reasons I would have gone, but I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, all the openers were great. Like, and there was like zombie attacks, and what really got me about the entire thing was just how kind of cheesy and huggy Hetfield was at the end. He's just like, all right, we're here and this is the Metallica family. It's just like, so, I don't know, it's just like a family reunion or something like that. And then the whole thing was absolutely awesome. I got to shoot both nights too, and I was shooting it and reviewing it. So it was like, that's a total meltdown situation. But we were like at the very far end of the like the shows here in the middle, and like we're at the very far end. So I have a big lens and everything, but the biggest photo I can get is like people are like this big basically. And so the next night, and it was a real pain in the ass to store my camera and everything, but I still had a photo pass for both nights. So the second night I just went down and just stood and watched from down there. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know. That whole thing was really great, because I saw Metallica and Guns N' Roses both came the same year. I can't remember. It was about 10 years ago or something like that. And I remember just watching GNR, and Slash was just having such a good time. The whole Our Lady Peace opened up, and that actually surprised me because I was singing along to everything. And I'm like, oh, I guess I know all these songs. And then, and it was just the Slash show. And I'm like, holy, I actually think that I like GNR more than Metallica. And that kind of surprised me. But there was like, Metallica's fairly sexless, right?
Yeah.
and GNR's got that. So like, yeah, it's Cats in Heat or whatever. So
Do you only see concerts in Edmonton? Do you travel to see shows for pleasure or anything like that?
I'd never really done this before, but this actually, it's funny you'd ask this, because I was in Toronto a couple weeks ago, I guess a month ago and a bit, and then I found out that Devo was coming. And so I had to come back and shoot a wedding and potentially meet the 4 hobbits from Lord of the Rings and cover that. And so I came back for the weekend and then flew right back to go see Devo at Budweiser place, whatever it's called. And I don't know,
Yeah.
have you been there?
I have not. My son's played there, but I haven't.
Yeah, it's a really neat venue. It's like a giant fan and pretty flat, and there's no bad seats in the house. And then at the back, there's grass where you can party on.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of a dance area and everything. And I'd just seen the band Pulp that first trip, and I got in there because there's a thing called like Tick Pick or something like that. And so you can just get a ticket to any show like day of or whatever for like $12. Like, it's so crazy. There's a long story you can go check out on the journal all about it. But a buddy of mine were really into Devo, and then he died of cancer. And we've got like a grave site out for him at North Country Fair. And so we went out to the graves. This is before any of this happened, the Devo trip. We went out to the grave site, and I was kind of having a bad year. And and I came back and I was feeling really blue. And then I escaped the woods where his gravesite is that we've made. And there are 4 people dressed as Devo just standing at the side of the road in North Country Fair, like in the campground. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, am I hallucinating? I'm not on drugs, or anything. And I talked to them for a little bit, and I told them, because I'd actually played Devo out at his gravesite, and I told them, and I noticed that they had one of those like step red hats.
The Transformer hats or whatever.
Yeah, it's called an energy dome. And so,
yeah.
And so there's 4 of them with hats on, and then there's a 5th hat just sitting there. And I'm like, who's that hat for? And the guy just like, without a word, just handed it to me. So I went and took that hat to the Devo show and played it. And then like next summer when I go up to North Country Fair, I'm going to go and leave it on the gravesite, basically. So touching weird ritual, but yeah.
Darren Zenko.
Yeah. He used to be he was a writer for the journal, and he was a proofreader, and he was just an insane mind. And he wrote books for Lone Pine. I illustrated one of his books. It was called A Field Guide to Monsters. And he wrote all these, like, he wrote a book called Ghost Pets. And he was just like making up all these stories but passing them off as if they were real knowledge and stuff. Yeah.
I read that article.
Did you? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I contacted you.
Oh, I see.
I've read your articles over the years,
right.
Fish, but that one, I read it and I saw everything that you wrote in that article. Like, I was able to reach out and touch it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I thought it was very moving. I thought it was so personal and so unusual that we would see that from someone in a traditional media thing. And that's when I started. I thought, I got to find out how to get a hold of this guy, and I got to talk to him, because it's a beautiful story, and it's funny, and it's heartfelt, and you can feel the pain, and you can feel the joy, and you can feel the bewilderment, and of somebody of the 4 Devo guys at North Country Fair.
But what were they doing? But
like, why were they there? And then having the opportunity to go see Devo in Toronto with like all of these dots, it's like string art. Remember? You used to pound those finishing nails into a board and then do the string art back and forth. Everything came back, and I thought it was a beautiful article. I don't know if anybody has ever described one of your articles as beautiful before, but I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And I finished reading it, and I thought, my God, I wish this story was longer. I wanted to hear more of it, but that is why I reached out, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. I think it was October 1st in the journal is when it came out.
Somewhere around then. Yeah. I was just going through my calendar, and I think I wrote it on the 29th or something. And I wasn't quite sure when it was going to run, but yeah, it was a weird one. I mean, I would say that one of the benefits of us being in the era we're in right now is everything is kind of looser. Like, I would have had to pitch that and, try and really explain how I'm going to go about this, and, what I might write to an editor and all that. But my editor right now, Dave Breckenridge, he's the editor-in-chief of the paper, and he's the guy I just talked to directly, and he's the best. I love him, because he'll go for anything. Yeah, which is really good.
In the past, whether it's been for the Sun or the Journal, or what are some of the things that editors threw up as roadblocks or were real struggles for you to get through? And do you remember stuff?
Yeah, I remember one, and and basically there's a illustrator from when I was a kid named Ed Emberley, and he drew everything with like shapes in a really basic way. So it's, if you were going to draw a crab, and he would use like letters of the alphabet and stuff. So like the middle of the crab is like the letter D on its side, and then you put 2 squares on it. And he sort of taught me how to draw, and so I basically pitched to write about that, and my editor just didn't want me to do it, and I just went ahead and did the interview anyway, and I never wrote it. And then but I got to talk to him, and I talked to him and his son, who also was a illustrator, who did books like How to Draw Dinosaurs and stuff. And his dad had like serious Alzheimer's. Like it almost was. This was the other reason I didn't write it, is I kind of couldn't get much, but emotionally I got a lot. And so I was in the midst of it, and I'll always remember that and always be really happy about it. And I sort of abused my power in a certain sense, because I was like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do this interview anyway, and just keep trying to say like, I'm just going to write it. And if you don't want to run it, fine, And then I ended up not writing it, because it was like, the thing is though, I do have it on tape. And I think that what's okay about it is like, he's probably not going to be around that long. And I think at that point, maybe I can do sort of like a eulogy thing, and I'll have some quotes that I actually got or whatever. But yeah, that was a weird one. And sometimes my editors are hesitant. Like I love Garfield so much. And Garfield was turning 45 years old. And so I'm like, I'm going to interview Jim Davis. And that's one where I didn't even ask. I just like went ahead and got the thing. And then I'm like, hey, I got an interview with Jim Davis. And my editor's like, what? Like, we don't even run that comic or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but here it is. And it was great. And he was really Garfield's sort of not funny, but I interview a lot of visual artists, and almost always I'll kind of ask them if they have a Garfield connection, and pretty well they all loved Garfield when they were a kid. So it's just this funny thing. But when I was on the phone with him, I talked to him for about 10 minutes, and I'm like, I probably got to go, right? Like, you're out of time. And he's like, oh, did Sheila say that? No, man, this is great. Let's keep going. And so we talked for an hour and a half, because I'm a cartoonist too. Like, that's how I started out. And so we just talked about everything, and we even kind of co-wrote a comic together. Like he's fast on the fly. Like I asked him, what would Garfield say to being 45? And just immediately he goes, that's even old in human years. And it's like just a perfectly bad Garfield punchline. And so I just I drew that up and did it kind of as a collab between us. Yeah. So that was a career highlight, is interviewing Jim Davis of all these things.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. Did you know that 60% of Canadian mortgages come up for renewal in 2025 and 2026? Is yours one of them? This is a great reason why you should reach out to ThompsonMortgages.com. Don't just DocuSign that email that comes from your current lender. Reach out to ThompsonMortgages.com. Ask Mike or any one of the team members if you should be on a fixed rate, a variable rate. What kind of terms should you be looking at? These are great questions for anyone at ThompsonMortgages.com. And if you do reach out, please let them know that you heard about this on the Reluctantly podcast. That is really something. It just turned me on to like a thought process. Jim Davis, Garfield. Okay, so say the first thing that comes to your mind. Bub Slug.
Bub Slug? Oh my God, the Hotel Mac. Because remember, it was shut down, and then there was like a villain that lived in there, and yeah, basically all that. But he also had those scavenger hunts, and we went all over town with that. And I was like, my dad worked for the Sun when I was a kid, but like all the kids love Bub Slug. But yeah, no, I love that comic. Yeah.
BC.
Yeah, my favorite thing about BC is that they always did. They always had like a religious, like he'd always do a Christmas thing. And I'm like, you're really missing the point of the name of your strip here. Like there's no Jesus yet, buddy. Like you're a caveman, right? Yeah. So.
Oh, and what? Oh man, I can't remember the name of the guy who did the books, but I still remember there's these lions or tigers sitting around this dead antelope, and
yeah, you're talking about Far Side. Far
Far
Side.
Side. That's
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah.
the one lion says, "Hey, Sid, remember that time we were eating and you somebody said something and you laughed so hard a horn came out your nose."
My favorite one is there's a dryer and it's got a door open and there's like a sign taped to the inside of the door and it's spelled wrong and it's like cat food FUD. There's an
FUD.
arrow point and there's an arrow pointing in, and then there's a cat like walking towards and there's like a dog peeking around the corner. I always know, yeah, one thing about the Far Side that I noticed early on is it's like every single one of those cartoons almost is like right before something really bad is going to happen, or it's always circling tragedy somehow. And
Yeah.
he's like he had such a keen understanding of like how terrible and horrifying and miserable life is.
Archie comics.
Archie, I was never super into. I know that they did crossovers with like Batman and stuff like that, but yeah, I never had the Archie thing. I just thought it was really interesting that I never understood if he was supposed to be hot or not, but it seemed like these two, like Betty and Veronica, are always fighting over him, and it seemed like Jughead was the cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jughead was the guy I wanted to hang out with too.
Yeah.
I was kind of that weird guy in school. I wasn't, one of the really cute guys that the girls liked, and I wasn't one of the sporto geeks. I was decent at sports, and I wasn't one of the brainiacs either. I was kind of in that Bermuda Triangle of awkwardness that never really seemed to get me anywhere. So
there always seemed to be something going on with the teachers and stuff, though. Like there was like this, they were all in bondage or something off screen.
Mr. Weatherby and Mrs. Appleby or
exactly all that.
The big wart on her nose.
Yeah.
How about Charles M. Schultz?
Oh God, he's the master. I mean, it kind of makes me. Well, I love him, and I see, like, I'm on Instagram too much, and somehow, even though I love Garfield, like Snoopy's got in my algorithm, and I just saw one today, and it was just Snoopy like watching a leaf fall down, and he was super happy. Actually, it was a little animation, and he just starts blowing it, and he blows it, and Charlie Brown has a big pile of leaves, and he just like blows it so it lands perfectly on top, and then they just have a nice moment together, and it's just like, it's so corny. I followed him kind of to the end, and I always got kind of sad about, because he died in 2000, I think, somewhere around there, and his hands were really shaky at the end, but he still kept going. But you could really see the shake in the line and everything. And I kind of appreciated that he did that. But
he used to have an annual hockey tournament in the greater Los Angeles area that my dad used to go to every year.
No way.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that.
You know what? We started our conversation off, and right there was it was like, here's the train tracks, and no, we're just gonna go this way, and it's been amazing. But I did want to talk to you about some music, even though there's so many other sort of aspects to what you do and what you bring to the table as far as your writing and creation, and whether it's cartoons or movies or music. Do you play a musical instrument?
No, it's funny. No, I just hang out with them. Like everyone I know is a musician, almost, except for like two people. But but everybody else. And so that always gets me constantly going out to the bands. So I mean, like, there's so many insanely good bands in town right now. It does feel like there's kind of a resurgence going on right now. So I'm really excited about it.
Who in Edmonton right now catches your ear and eye as far as performance goes?
Yeah, I could probably go on for a while, but I mean, like Bad Buddy, and it's like they're mostly female and they kind of dress in lingerie and they're just super, kind of like a mix of punk and 60s soul Motown a little bit, and they just kick ass. They're like so good. I love them every time I can see them. I actually missed their show last weekend. I thought it was Saturday, and again, their name is Bad Buddy, and they were going as Bad Bunny, so I loaned them a rabbit costume, and I thought I was going to see it on the Saturday, but I missed the show.
Just a minute. You loaned them a rabbit costume.
Yeah, there used to be a folk singer who was briefly here. He was an American guy named Richard Buckner. He's like he made the best divorce album ever made, called what's it called? Okay, I'm going to blank on it, so I won't. Devotion and Doubt, and so he came to town for a while and married a friend of mine, and then that didn't work out and then left. But for whatever reason, like the first day he came here, I knew he was coming, so I went and interviewed him. And then we became like drinking buddies, and we just like so slaughtered. We were like just falling over basically, and we played Golden Tee all the time. But yeah, I didn't have a Halloween costume one year, and his grandmother had made him this rabbit costume. And so I've had this, and I wear it now and then. And so Bad Buddy was talking about this, and I'm like, do you have enough rabbit costumes? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, so we'll see how dirty they got it at the show. But yeah. Yeah, it's a good rabbit costume too. Like it's really got like this kind of 60s like care to it. Like it's got a separate headpiece. You're like there's a little hole for the face, but the ears stick up, and it's got little cottontail on the back. Yeah, so they're good.
Okay, what size is it? Like how tall are you?
I'm like 6'2" or 3" or something like that. So
okay.
it's a little oversized.
It might fit me. I'm 6'5".
Yeah. If you ever want to borrow it,
I'll keep it in mind. Okay, so Bad Buddy and who else? Who else is who else do you like on the local scene right now?
Big Evil Rat, and I think there's 5 or 6 of them, and they have like 3 different lead singers and 3 totally different styles, and they're just pounding straightforward like kind of psyche rock and roll. But there's also one of the guys sings like really punk, like Fugazi like, and man, just if you can see those guys, see them. And then a buddy of mine, but it doesn't matter. Like he's in a couple bands, and his name is Smokey Johnson, and he plays in a band called Field and Stream, and they've been around forever. I love those guys too. So yeah, there's just so much. I mean, you can pretty well go to any show at the Aviary or Buckingham or even like the Black Dog on a Saturday afternoon or whatever, and you're never going to be disappointed. And those are always the best concerts, my favorite concerts for sure, because you're just like right there, and you know you can sit like right in front of the band and get up and have a drink and talk for a bit or whatever. But but all those bands are really, really good. So
is J-Scope on your radar?
No, who are they?
J-Scope is he's originally from Nigeria, I want to say, and then came to Edmonton by way of Ukraine when the war broke out. So he was fleeing Nigeria, and then went into Ukraine and ended up in Edmonton. He was just playing a bunch of stuff out in Winnipeg at the North or the showcase stuff that happens out there. Is it North by Northwest? No, that's not what it's called. Anyway, my son drums for him.
Okay,
but he's a like a rapper guy. But he's just interesting cat. I've seen he's been interviewed by CBC, a couple of articles and that sort of thing. Just the going back to some of the other bands that have started up in Edmonton and then gone on to do things. Just saw that All Hail the Yeti was in town, and that's Junior Kitlitz, who his dad was a part of the local music scene for the longest time. His brother Jeff. So and he's in bands now. And Junior's when he's not the drum tech for Tool, he's drumming for All Hail the Yeti and maybe a couple of other bands. And he's just one of those guys that I see, and just, left Edmonton and did everything he could to get his US visa and stuff. I remember the struggles he was going through, reaching out to me, seeing if there was anything I could help with writing letters or articles or something like that, or getting a feature on the radio so that he could go down there and stick out so that he could get that visa. And then eventually things worked out for him, and he's able to travel all over the world and that sort of thing too. But
well, I mean, you mentioned earlier, like you brought up Chai Pig, and Ken Chin's his real name, and he's like from my neighborhood, basically on the north side. He's older than me, so I didn't know him then, but he was SNFU was always in with the Smalls, and then Corb's a good friend of mine, and I've like shot one of his album covers and shot like 3 videos for him and stuff like that. And so it's been cool to see him kind of make it. Like years and years ago, I'm like, you're going to be like, you can be Ian Tyson if you want. And then he ended up being good friends with him. And I got to go to Tyson's ranch, and I'm driving around in the rain on Tyson's ranch, and he's showing me this stone shack where he writes all his songs and stuff. And it's just like, there's so many moments for like, how the hell did I get here? like, you know, but yeah,
With Corb,
yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, he lives in Montana now, right?
Well, he's kind of back. I'm not actually sure exactly where he is. But like he's got a place south of Calgary, and then he's
Yeah,
still
along
got
the
a
Cowboy
ranch. But
Trail, along the
yeah, yeah,
foothills there. He's
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
active
yeah,
with that coal mining thing.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know that he lives in Montana, but you might be right.
yeah, I
Yeah,
thought he had a place in Montana. That's just, did you said you've been friends with him for a long time?
yeah.
Did he get you into Bitcoin early?
It's funny because he gave me a little early-ish, and I don't know where it is, and I can't find it, and I don't know how to do that, and I'm too shy to ask him about it. But yeah, we were sitting around. It was in the winter, and Irish Sue, who owned the Empress and who owns Southbound now, like he gave us each like I don't know some small like $1 or something, and this wouldn't have been like it might be worth $100 or $1,000 now. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know where it is. It's on his phone somewhere. I don't know.
I,
But yeah, he did pretty well with that stuff. That's for sure. Yeah.
well, I did. I was talking with Mike Plume, and Mike didn't give me
Yeah.
any, deep dark family secrets or financial secrets or anything like that. But he
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, Corb got into Bitcoin pretty early."
Way
'Cause,
early.
I remember hearing about Bitcoin when it was $8 and it went up to 12. I thought,
Yeah.
well, that's the end of the Bitcoin thing. I guess
Yeah.
I missed that boat.
Yeah.
I just remember I wanted to get into Bitcoin, but I couldn't figure out how to get my money out. That it
Yeah.
was never made very clear back in
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
Now you can just buy it on your phone. So
Yeah. I've never been a gambler. Like I'll take personal risks, like, ride down a steep hill or something on my bike or whatever. But I never was much of a, like, play the slots or anything like that. I'm just like the house will win for sure on all those things. So yeah.
yeah.
Do you play, are you a poker guy or anything?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not awesome at
Yeah.
poker. No.
Yeah.
I'm. I like to drink.
Yeah.
And if cards get in the way while I'm doing that, then so be it.
Yeah. Well, we should try having a drink sometime and see how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just add alcohol. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to gamble. If you want to go for a beer sometime, we can do it. This is very awkward because you should just say like, no, that's okay. Like just say you don't want to hang out.
No, I would love to go because there's so many other things that we could talk about. I mean, there's actually there was a couple of things I wanted to bring up just because I saw your article on Rush, an extraordinary circumstance considering the fact that the two surviving members have decided to, what is it, 10 years now since?
Yeah, it was a decade. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and she seems, I can't remember her name. Do you know it? She
Nita?
seems legit. Yeah. She seems legit. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
she'll probably be better than them, actually.
Yeah, it's very likely.
Yeah. It'll be the KISS scenario where the new kids are the talent now. Not to be a dink about that, but it's true. Like when I saw KISS last time, whenever the replacements came out, the show, like the energy went way up and I was pretty impressed.
Right. I'm just looking. I should just Google that. I don't know why I'm saying Nita. I think I ever confused with Alice Cooper's guitar player.
Yeah, she rules.
Rush drummer Neil Peart, of course, and Annika, not Nita.
Annika, that's it. Yeah,
Annika Niles. Yes,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Her story is really cool. If you ever get the opportunity to get to sit on the phone with her or chat with her for a bit, that would probably be pretty interesting. But I wanted to talk to you about this whole thing. I work at a classic rock radio station, telling dick jokes every morning, and
yeah,
some people say it's hacky. Some people say it's
the Lord's work.
Yeah. Some people say, why the Lord's work?
But you're like, you're like an air traffic controller, though. You're getting people into culture who might sneer at the idea of being into culture, but like music is culture. Music is art,
I suppose. But with the genre that I've been, playing since it was new, and now it's called classic rock, the biggest hack on it has been that it's oldies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to talk to you because I respect your opinion on music of all genres, but especially in classic rock. Do you think, because I personally do, I think that there has never been more interest in classic rock than there is right now, especially among young people in their 20s to 30s and, whatnot, because we're starting to lose them all. We're
Yeah.
losing the Eddie Van Halen, we're losing the Tom Petty's, we're losing the Christine McVie's and that sort of thing. So as they start to Ozzy Osbourne, look at how many people were
Yeah.
there for Ozzy Osbourne. And I
Yeah.
just think it's remarkable that you have not only people listening, fans of the music that have become multi-generational, but then you look at the thing, Aerosmith and Youngblood, what they released, and their tribute to Ozzy at the music awards or whatever it was, VMAs or whatever that performance was. What are your thoughts on classic rock? Are you tired of it? Is it the best music that was ever made? Is there room
Oh.
for something else to
Yeah, I
influence?
mean, because Con, my dad, I was really lucky, right? Because they were so young when they had me. And so the albums that we had when I was a kid were Alice Cooper and Hendrix and Tarkus. I'm just trying to think what else. Like, there's just so much, even like, we wouldn't call Bowie classic rock, but I mean, my mom kind of had more of that stuff. So I was getting the pop stuff from her a bit. I'm pretty loyal to classic rock. Yeah, I like the old stuff. I liked the resurgence, whatever era you would call it, because I know because there's some nomenclature. Like, what's the second wave of classic rock? Like, who's in that in your mind?
Well,
Like, I just heard someone say this because this is like sort of post, obviously, Zeppelin and all that. Like this.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you've got the Stones, Zeppelin, the
Yeah.
Who,
Yeah.
Deep Purple,
Yeah.
Black Sabbath. Okay, that's some people call the early stuff of
Yeah.
Black Sabbath metal, and
Yeah.
then of course now people who say metal is they're talking about bah, 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 all
Yeah.
that
Cookie
stuff.
Monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, but so I suppose it's Stones, Zeppelin, and that sort of thing, and then you get. I think Van Halen was the cutoff.
Okay, so
And
you're
then
calling it about that. Yeah.
in 79, 80, anything. So then you've got the Bon Jovis. Then you've got
I'm
the
a big Cheap Trick fan. Yeah.
Cheap Trick
They
was
rule.
another one of
They're
those that
smart.
kind of
Yeah.
a little bit of the 70s, most of the 80s. So
Yeah.
the Tom Petty's, there's another great
Yeah.
example. Tom Petty, I remember seeing him first when the Damn the Torpedoes album came out. He was a guest on Saturday Night Live. They sang Refugee and Don't Do Me Like That on Saturday Night Live in 1979 or whatever it was. And, so that to me was the second wave of classic rock, those guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was just trying to get the nomenclature right. Like, I think where I landed was the weirdo stuff, like Talking Heads and Devo, and basically a whole bunch of stuff that either, Bowie would be ground zero for me, though. Like, Bowie's my favorite musician of all time. And when he was alive, I said he was my favorite artist of all time. Now, my favorite artist alive is Laurie Anderson, like, Oh Superman. Yeah. And so, but Cooper, really, really strong feelings for Alice Cooper. Like that's something I was like born and bred on when I was a little kid. So I loved all that stuff. And I loved the last album, actually. Like, it wasn't perfect, but like coming back and going back to the Detroit thing. And I always appreciate that. I got to meet him too, but that's another story. But
I went golfing with him.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah. How'd you do?
I don't remember my score. I remember watching him and thinking, wow, this is really boring watching Alice Cooper golf. He just hits it straight,
right.
straight. And, I think he was 2 over par or something like that, but it was a phenomenal day.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
The Alice Cooper stuff I find fascinating because everybody knows about Alice Cooper and all of the stuff he went through with substance abuse and that sort of thing, and the early days of performance and that macabre and his Schools Out and everything like that. But I think so few people have realized his connection to like the Laurel Canyon stuff, going back at like the Monkees and this Crosby, Stills, Nash and Joni Mitchell and all of that stuff. He was right in there with the Manson family, like that whole sort of genre back then before he became the Alice Cooper guy. It's pretty cool to find out all of the history back then of that.
Yeah, wasn't weren't the Mansons somehow, didn't they kind of inspire him a little bit, I think, to get into this like freaky sideshow thing and making an act. I think I remember reading something about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's great. And I also he's sort of like Ozzy in a way, where he had all these separate versions of himself, separate careers. Because I mean, like you go back to like Desperado and those ancient songs, and then there's that whole like Constrictor trash era that was like, that's where all my friends kind of joined in. Like I was already into the Welcome to My Nightmare creepy Alice Cooper. And then also there's an album of his called Dada. I don't know if you know it, but it's like this concept album about like a guy that he's locked in the attic and all this. And I tried to talk to him about that, and he's like, oh man, I don't remember any of that. I was like, I was completely high for all of that. And I'm like, I get it. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Cooper rules. I'll be really screwed up when he finally goes. That's the weird thing about all this. Like you brought it up a second ago too. Like all these people are going away, and this is again why we're so lucky. Is sometimes we'll talk to septuagenarians or octogenarians, rarely or whatever, but we get to at least try to get something out of them, and I don't know how much of a fanboy you are. I always find it hard to not tell them how much I love them. Like I don't get nervous about talking to anybody anymore, but there's always a moment where I just want to tell them, like, you really did matter, and you still do matter, and you will matter. And that's like, I mean, what else could you wish for? Like I don't want to throw shade on Nickelback because it's so easy, but it always felt to me like that they were trying to, and it's okay, but it felt like they were trying to make money more than they were trying to say something in a lot of ways. Maybe that's unfair, but compared to like, I don't know, something like Queens of the Stone Age or something, like it just seems like, okay, we're going to fuck things up. We're going to screw things up and, have different people singing or I don't know if Ween, the band Ween, like they just, every single time they made an album, they just utterly reinvent the wheel. So they're a country band for one album, and then they did an album of like sea shanties. Like, yeah, they're just like so awesome. Yeah,
never know what you're gonna get. This is the old Forrest Gump box of chocolates. Well, I'll tell you something, Fish. I have quite enjoyed this, and you matter. Like all of the stuff that you've written over the years. I'm serious, and it might sound fishy or fanboy like you mentioned, but you cover the gamut, and there's so many different layers, and it's so appreciated. I thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Terry. And I'd say the same thing about you. Like I see you as a warrior out there, like fighting for the good thing. Yeah, and I think you're going to keep that flame alive until you fall over.
All right, let's get that drink.
Okay, anytime. Thanks, man.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. It costs you nothing to make a phone call to see if you can get a better rate, a better term, and better service for your mortgage. Also, Concept.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Look your best.
Reluctantly.